Hi guys, welcome to a simpler approach. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Today, our topic will be the accounting equation. And to the best of my ability, I will make it as simple as possible for you. Okay? Now, let's dive into it. For this lesson, our objectives are to understand the accounting equation and to learn how to manipulate the accounting equation. Before we can even attempt to understand what the accounting equation is all about, we must first understand the three components of the equation. Those three components are assets, capital, and liabilities. Now, in their simplest definition, assets are the resources that are owned by a business entity. Capital refers to the resources supplied to the business by its owner, and liabilities are the resources that are owed by a business. Let's do that again. Assets are the resources that are owned by a business entity. Capital refers to the resources that are supplied to a business by its owner, and liabilities are the resources that are owed by a business. Okay? Now that we understand the three components of the equation, the accounting equation, let us now put everything together so we can get a holistic understanding of the equation itself and how it works. Okay? Now, we learned just now that the resources that are supplied to a business by its owner, they are called capital. Okay? Now that they are supplied to the business, they have become resources that belong to the business. And those resources that are owned by a business entity are called assets. So if we should put that in an equation, we would get capital equal assets. Sounds about fair, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Capital, resources supplied to the business by the owner. Then when they come into the business, these resources are now owned by the business and are called assets. Reflect this in an equation, you would get capital equal assets. Let us now add liabilities to the equation. Now, liabilities are resources that the business owes for. So these resources are supplied to the business, but they have not yet been paid for. The business owes for them. Okay? Irrespective of the fact that they are owed for, they are still resources that are within the business organization. Now, when you add that to the equation, it'll change to capital equal assets minus liabilities. When the equation is expressed, capital equal assets minus liabilities, there is an issue. And the issue is, it is unclear as to the value of the resources and who supplied them. In layman terms, the equation looks wrong. The simplest way I can put it. It doesn't adequately tell what the resources are and who supplied them, because it started capital equal assets minus liability. It is liabilities rather. It's not clear. Now, to make it clear, capital and assets must be switched around. And when it is switched around, it becomes clear that you can see what the resources are and who supplied them. Therefore, the accounting equation in the way it is supposed to be expressed is assets equal capital plus liability. Now, when it is expressed like this, you can clearly see there are assets in the entity. Where did these assets come from? They came from capital plus liabilities. Additionally, it's an equation, which means the assets of the entity must be equal to its capital and its liabilities. Now, looking at the two equations, I believe you should be able to see what the problem was when capital is at the front, and the fact that the problem is solved when it is turned around to reflect assets equal capital plus liability. It's a whole lot easier and simpler to read and to understand. It is sometimes necessary to manipulate the accounting equation. And this becomes necessary sometimes so as to ascertain the value of one of the components in the equation. In the example before us, we have assets, liabilities, capital, and we have some figures there. Let us look at A, for example. For A, assets amount to 14,600, liabilities, we don't know, and capital, 10,000. Now, in order to ascertain what liabilities represents, what the value is, we will have to manipulate the accounting equation. Now, we know that the accounting equation is assets equal capital plus liability. We know what our assets are and we know what capital is, but we don't know what our liabilities are. Now, we have to manipulate the equation in order to get a formula that we can use to calculate what our liabilities are. To get this formula, for those who are not so fond of mathematics, unfortunately, we will just a tad bit be entering the mathematical world right now. What we have to do in order to manipulate the equation is to take liability, bring it over the equal sign, that is to the left, bring it to the left of the equal sign, and bring the assets to the right of the equal sign. When that happens, the plus sign will change to minus. Let me go over that again. To manipulate the equation, you have to move the items or the components over the equal sign and change the sign of the component itself. Now, in the top one, assets equal capital plus liability. Notice at the bottom, when we manipulate it to get liability, it becomes liability equal assets minus capital. Why? In order to shift around the components to manipulate it to get liability as the head, when assets is going over, the sign has to be changed. It cannot remain the same. It has to be changed. Okay? And that's how you manipulate the equation. Bring the components over the equal sign and change the sign. Okay? Awesome. So now we have liability equal assets minus capital. This is the formula that we will use to calculate what our liabilities are. Assets equal 14,600, capital 10,000, 14,600 minus 10,000, and we get 4,600. For B, we have assets, we don't know, liabilities 57,400, and the capital 12,600. $1,678. Now for B, there would be no need to manipulate the equation because the accounting equation itself is assets equal capital plus liability. What do we want to find out? Assets. So we use the formula as is. We use the equation as is. And that would be the accounting equation as is. Therefore, all we'll have to do is to simply add the capital figure and the liability figure, 12,678 plus 57,400, and we'll get 70,078. Our final example, C, assets 21,700, liabilities 9,800, and capital we don't know. Now, in order to find the value of capital, we have to manipulate the equation. Therefore, it is clear for us to see that the equation is only manipulated when we need to find liabilities or capital. Let me go again. The accounting equation is only manipulated when we wish to find liabilities and capital. When we need to find assets, we use the equation as is. Okay? Now, the concept remains the same. When we are manipulating the equation, we take the components over the equal sign and change sign. Capital was a positive thing, was a positive component when it was to the right of the equal sign. When it comes over, the positive sign becomes a negative sign. And that is how we get capital equal assets minus liabilities. Okay? It has to change. That's the only way the calculation will make sense. It'll have to change. So doing this, we get assets 21,700 minus liabilities of 9,800 gives us our capital of 11,900. That's it for this video, guys. Simple, straightforward, to the point. Now I must caution you that even though the accounting equation may appear simple, its concept can be found throughout the entire principle or the entire course of accounting. It doesn't move. It's what I call one of the foundations of accounting, the accounting equation. So always remember it. Always remember how to manipulate it. Always remember the accounting equation itself and how to manipulate it to get the other two. Okay? And while you're at it, remember also that assets, liabilities, and capital are three of the most common components of accounting itself. So never forget what they are, never forget what they represent. And in topics to come, we'll dig a little deeper into their types and so on. So stay tuned for that. All right? Until then, this is it. Hope you learned something. Hope the information was clear, concise, and to the point. And as usual, if there are any questions, queries, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below and I will respond to you directly. Until next time, walk good, stay safe.